What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only NIO stock and what you should be looking after for the future. I'm also going to break down what the future holds for NIO in my opinion and give you guys my price prediction for tomorrow based off what trends are showing, based off what the data is suggesting, and based off the news that's coming out. Now, before I break anything down, before I get into any more details, I have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire NIO community as a whole. And the last things, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you're guaranteed up to 15 free stocks, each worth up to $2,000. And the best part is you'll also have the chance to win $60,000. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 10 days. Check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So look at the market, guys. We have some very interesting things that are going on. I just wanted to note the fact that NIO has been actually very, very strong. It's showing lots of relative strength and it has been outperforming the market, at least as of recent. Looking at the price pairs ratio, another big increase in this right here, showing the signs that it based right here. And during this instance, NIO was basically underperforming the market for quite a while, coming down and down and down, right? This is the ratio. Then all of a sudden, bases here, and we're getting a nice bounce to the upside. So this is actually a sign that NIO may have more room to continue going if we continue to see the bulls step in. Now, also note that where we are right now also depends on the news, and as of right now I'm not seeing any like really bad piece of news that's going to cause NIO to like crash or take a big hit, at least at the time I'm recording this. So I am still more optimistic for tomorrow. Also, I did see some articles coming out saying that some restrictions have loosened in China. So that is a good sign going forward. And if the whole market has more momentum, it's going to be a good sign. Now, one thing that's worth noting, though, is not every single, pension fund or institution is bullish on every single stock for the short term. Some of them are kind of reallocating some assets and other things like that. They are actually selling some of their shares in companies like Apple and Tesla and NIO too. So I just wanted to note that there's always going to be some people out there that think the opposite and think that the market could come down a bit. So it's important to be prepared for anything. NIO did report a very, very strong deliveries report for the month of November, and typically when this happens, we tend to see the share price continue to push as time goes on. Another good thing for the overall market that can help NIO is what's going on with the S&P 500. We could see right now there's still a relatively high puts to call ratio again, which in turn is going to likely cause the market to continue pushing. Why is this? Well, just to be blunt, the market makers who are essentially responsible for being part of the buying and selling process of these options, they do not want to pay retail or most institutions tons of money. So if you look carefully at this, I believe right here on December 7th, we have a 3.09 put to call ratio. That's crazy high. And what this essentially means is the market makers are probably not going to let the market crash very much on this day. They do not want to basically pay out all of these puts. So it's very likely we still hold the levels we're at. The SPY holds above 400. We may even push higher, but that's a little bit hard to tell given the resistance that the market is seeing. We also have a relatively high amount of these put to calls going into like the second week right before CPI. So it's important to note and be prepared for that in case things don't go as planned. But this has been reduced a bit, showing signs that lots of these funds have been closing their puts. And as we start to see more people buying into puts, it's going to be very, very interesting. But anyways, now I want to talk about NIO. Strong volume, but NIO was up about 8.6%. That's awesome and all. However, I wanted to note that typically when NIO pushes up this much and outperforms the market, we tend to actually cool off a bit, start to consolidate a bit before we start pushing up again. And I think that's very possible, but it's also going to depend on the overall market and how many buyers really come in. One thing I'm liking is the overall trend is showing a relatively low short volume percentage. This is showing signs that the bulls are getting the edge, and NIO should be respecting an uptrend over the next couple of days. That does not mean we have to be green every single day, but we should still show more green than red overall. Now, one kind of like red flag about the market, though, is where we are currently on SPY. What I don't like about this, in a way, if you want to go with that route, is the fact that obviously we have this big downtrend. You guys could clearly see this downtrend that's been respected for the entire year. We technically have not broken out of it yet. Even though we have been pushing, we're actually at the very top retesting resistance right over here. We broke above the 200 moving average, which is a bullish sign. And it does look like we might retest it one last time and get a big bounce off of it. So that would be pretty bullish. And I'm hoping that we do start to see more and more of the bulls come into control. But what is good about the SPY in the overall market is when you zoom out and look at the fact that I'm not actually including after hours, by the way. But anyways, when we zoom out, all right, we had that big push by Powell. The market had a big drop because of the unemployment data, and we still saw the bulls in control. So it looks to me like the bulls are a lot stronger. The level to watch for is this 410 area on SPY. I do believe it's very likely we get a retest of 410 or so. We may form like a double top. And if we get a huge rejection off of it, it's going to be a very, very big red flag for this market. If we start to make those lower highs, it could be a big sign of rejection because on a macro perspective, it's not looking that great in a way because we tend to get rejected off this upper trend line. We're currently around there. However, there's no guarantee that has to happen if the bulls are super strong. If this thing breaks 410 and we hold 410 and we see like 411, 412 and we hold those levels, I'm going to turn a lot more bullish because then we have the potential to fly to 414, then 417.9, right? About 418 basically. And if that happens, we're basically going to hit like 420. That's where we have a gap fill. 420 is going to come on SPY if we most likely see a big break and hold a 410, which I believe is very possible. But like I said before, because it's strong resistance, we just have to wait and see if we break it. If we break it, it's going to be very bullish. If not, like I said, the bears could still come back. Now, what I think is more likely is for us to actually at least hold and retest 410 for tomorrow. So I do think the market could push up a bit. Looking at Tesla, this thing looks pretty strong. If you look at the trend, this thing actually outperformed the market. It looks like it wants to keep going, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see 200 plus very, very soon. And that could help the QQQ push up, the NASDAQ also push up. This thing has a gap that hasn't been filled, so it looks like it's going to continue pushing a bit. We're going to see this thing retest 295-ish, around that zone. Now, for NIO, what does all this data mean? When you look at the VIX, this thing is at a very low level, so I'd be careful if you guys are trying to trade long. The VIX could still come down more. It could actually come all the way back down to about 16s. If the market keeps pumping, it still is very possible. But also note that it has actually bounced around this zone in the past as well. So it might start to like base around here if the market trades sideways. If it breaks a little lower, the market could continue to push. And from a moving average standpoint, we are very close to getting this cross right here from the 5200. So be very careful. But anyways, I want to now talk about NIO. What do I see on NIO? NIO completely outperformed the market many days in a row. It's showing lots of nice strength. And what I like about it is from a smaller standpoint, this thing has been respecting an uptrend pretty darn well. Now, so far on the 5 minutes, let me actually include the after hours when showing this to you guys, the extended hours. Yeah, so on this perspective, you guys could quite clearly see since NIO got this very, very nice bullish cross between the 50-200 moving averages, it's been pushing to the upside. And I think that if you don't include the extended hours, it's been actually holding the 200 moving average as a support level. So that's a very, very good sign. So what I'm thinking about NIO is overall, this does look like it's respecting a rising wedge-like formation. And you could argue that we formed a double top. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit of downside, which is completely fine. Don't be worried, because if NIO is up 8-9% day in, day out, again and again and again, we tend to see some bearish price action to cool us off first. So notice how NIO pushed up on November 30th, all the way up to $13.30. What happened the day after? Right? This thing started cooling off just a bit. We had some consolidation before the next push up. So I believe NIO is likely going to cool off a bit. This looks like a rising wedge, once again, a bearish sign. I think it's going to cool off, maybe retrace to about where this moving average is, around the 12.6 zone, maybe a little bit higher than that, 12.7 or something. And it's going to consolidate a bit, in my opinion. But then it could be getting ready by Tuesday or Wednesday for a big push. And I wanted to talk about the key zone I mentioned in my previous video. NIO has this channel right about here, I believe. And in this channel, what basically happened was, if I could find it. Anyways, what happens is NIO hits like 13.5 to about 12, and it tends to trade sideways around that channel. All right. So if we see NIO actually respect that channel again, it's very likely that NIO is going to continue to trade a little bit sideways going forward. So I'm thinking that what could happen is NIO comes down a bit. We retest the mid to high 12s, cool off a little bit. But if the market is like super bullish, maybe I would say going into like Tuesday, NIO could see a big push and test 13.5. Break that. And this thing is likely going to go for its gap fill. The gap is in the 14s. We could quite easily see the 14s, but it's going to take a little bit of time. I also do anticipate a little bit of downside first before we get there. Completely normal, nothing to be worried about. So what is my target on NIO? For tomorrow, I wouldn't be surprised if we're a little bit red. I mean, like I said, guys, this setup does look a little bit bearish short term, like super short term. A small cool off is fine before a big rip after that. And then what I could finally do is take a Fibonacci retracement, start down here, and finally push this to the high. And you could see NIO's 0.236 happens to be around $13. And if it does come a little bit lower, I'm going to be watching 12.8 followed by 12.65, which is the 50% retracement. The most bearish thing would be about 12.5. I don't think it's going to go that low, but if it does, completely fine, guys. Don't worry. That's the 0.618. Stocks do like to bounce around there. So NIO could have a pretty red day tomorrow, maybe like, I don't know, 3-4% red, maybe a little more. Completely fine. For Tuesday and Wednesday, this thing could be set for a better move. Now, if Tesla starts pumping, there's a chance that NIO could just continue going despite the setup. So I wouldn't be surprised if NIO comes down to maybe like 12.65, 12.5, maybe bounces tomorrow, trades a little sideways and closes a little red. But then NIO could be very green for Tuesday and Wednesday, and hopefully we see like the 14s. But anyways, guys, that's essentially what I have for this video. Things are improving big time. If the market starts to explode very soon, this could also help NIO. So be on the lookout, guys, especially on the NASDAQ. With that said, thank you all so much for listening. That's my prediction for tomorrow. Remain calm, cool, and collected, and I'll see you guys in the next one. NIO to the moon because the long-term future is still incredibly bright, and peace out.